Hi, this video is going to be about economy of effort. And what that really means is you want to get more bang for your buck, or you want to expend less energy to get the same results. And this is something that any kind of coach would know best about in the sport. And to be honest, it really is relevant for most sports, but some sports it's more important because you don't want to be wasting energy if you're going for a long time. So notice almost any sport or activity, as the athlete becomes more skilled, they use less energy for a given pace. So they sort of learn how to do it better, not necessarily by being taught a technique, how to run or to swim, but just sort of by practice and figuring it out. Now, that's not always true that some people need coaching, and notice they have to practice to how to become more efficient. Swimming is one that's particularly important that you really need to be told the techniques or some techniques and then try them. And notice this is not the same as having a nice VO2 max. Notice we call it a multifactorial phenomenon, meaning there's a lot of factors that affect the economy. Generally, people become more economical, or they are more economical as they go for longer. So longer events demand more economy. For shorter events, let's say a dash or a sprint, it doesn't really matter if you're wasting energy or less efficient as long as you're going fast. You notice, and this is where this concept of form comes from, not necessarily looking nice, but using less energy to get the same thing done. And obviously, it's going to vary with the type of exercise. And in my opinion, swimming is something that's really important because technique is so important that you're not just splashing around in the water, but you're moving forward. But I see many people who also spend a lot of energy running up and down and up and down without really moving forward. And so here's an example of how you could measure economy. So if you have two people, runner A and runner B, and they are both running at the same speed and a variety of speeds, and then you measure their oxygen uptake, notice it's not liters per minute because they're different body sizes. You compare their milliliters per their body weight, per kilogram of body weight. So milliliters of oxygen per their body weight per minute. How much oxygen per body weight are they using? And this person, runner B, every single speed, runner B is using less oxygen. Therefore, runner B, the blue line, is more economical because at the same speed, they're using less oxygen. And once again, we can use oxygen to determine calories per minute. And you can imagine over time, this does make a difference. For a short period of time, it might not matter. All it matters is who's faster. So here is a graph I got from a website that works on training and what kinds of things you would do to improve your economy. And it's the same thing. They're going to look at different speeds. This is meters per second. And then they're going to use indirect calorimetry to measure how much oxygen they're using. And you want that graph to shift lower. You want it to go lower, or they might call this going to the right. So at the same speed, you're using less energy. This is important for endurance athletes. I like to cross country ski, and I was a competitive cross country skier. It's a very physically demanding sport because you have to use your whole body, not just your legs, your arms and your legs and your chest and your back to move forward. And once again, technique does really matter. So successful endurance athletes, we'll have another video on this, they want to have an above average VO2 max. They definitely want to have a high lactate threshold. They want to have a high economy of effort, so they're economical, so they can run a long time using less energy, so it's really less work for them. And they're swimming. There's like a triathlon. And then remember, back to our fiber types, it's really helpful if these people have a high percentage of type 1 fiber types. So the cost of various activities really varies. And as you become more intense, you generally, if you change your technique, whether you're swimming, biking, or running, or even skiing, you don't use the same technique for a short distance as a long distance. Your technique varies quite a bit. And so how do we figure the energy expenditure, the cost, right? We look at the VO2 and then we look at the work done. We are going to ignore the anaerobic aspect such as the EPOC, the exercise post-oxygen consumption. Just going to ignore it because we're thinking for longer things. And notice, we know that depending on what you're doing, your activity level does have a big effect on how much energy you expend on doing something, your physical activity level. And then obviously, it should make sense that just things about people's bodies can make them more or less efficient when they're doing certain things. So therefore, there's some body types that are more efficient at swimming and other body types that are more efficient at cycling and running and skiing and so forth. And that's where body types come in, as well as their weight, their body fat, and as far as females goes, the body shape and frame can be quite different, making their efficiency really different. So that's it about economy of effort. And I'm going to try and stop this computer again, and it's going to take 10 seconds. Oh, there we go.